But a mortgage is a mortgage, nonetheless. It's a bill to pay, and we were living in New York, and it's very expensive to live there, and 3 kids, and both of us working, and it just gradually got to be a rat race. Even though it wasn't debt, it was just normal living expenses.
And I think you just get caught up in everything that you're doing there. You don't even realize where you're going and what you're doing. You just, as we spoke earlier today, it's sort of like you think it's the norm. And before you know it, you're sort of just, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And you sort of don't know how to even get out of it.
It's like on a treadmill,
yeah.
And you can't get off.
In the back of my mind, God's telling me, you've got to change. You've got to do something. Because I just wasn't feeling good. I was stressed. I mean, it wreaks havoc on the relationship. The stress and all the outside interference, it impacts you. And we thought we were trying. Let's look to see if we can move somewhere that'll be less stressful.
He was so stressed out in his work at the time.
I had literally a blood pressure machine on my desk, checking my blood pressure every day. I mean, it was just becoming extremely difficult there. The pressure, you were expected to do more with less. So when she told me that we had this opportunity, I said, let's go do it. Despite the fact me never leaving, the furthest I've lived from New York was New Jersey for 3 years. This was a big lifestyle change. So here's a New Yorker jumping in Midwest, but I had complete faith that God was bringing us here for a reason.
And I'm so thankful that we didn't house hunt for the house that we could have afforded based on our equity and our incomes, because we would have been scrambling. We would have been, oh my gosh, I gotta get a job. But instead, because we had bought a house, more conservatively, now that I lost my job, we were okay. And that was such a lesson for us that, I really look at that as obedience. I can't say that I was explicitly being obedient to God, but in hindsight I realized we were being obedient by not being greedy and wanting more than we needed to be satisfied. And we were blessed by that with peace. I got laid off. It's supposed to be the worst thing in the world. And I had so much peace about it because we had done that.
We look back, it's hard while you're going through the journey to kind of see this, but we look back now very clearly seeing God kind of molding this whole story for us. He clearly saw us stressed out in New York. I mean, as I said, it impacted us both, from a relationship standpoint, just physically, all aspects of our lives. He brought us to Tulsa, said, okay, this is your new home, you'll be able to calm down. And then we finally both realized, hey, let's wake up. We see, God, what are you trying to tell us? That we need to slow down our lives and appreciate the blessings that we have, and not get so caught up in the monetary stresses of life. Rather, what can we do? What do we need to do to serve God's kingdom? What is He trying to show us? And that's sort of the part of the journey that we're in right now. We are now in a situation where, okay, all of these things happen. We realize Susan doesn't want to go back to work, but perhaps, okay, God, what do you want us to do now? Well, we feel like He's telling us, okay, well, let's take another step and sell this house, so this will free you up even more to do certain things in life. Now, frankly, we don't really know. We know what we think God's telling us, but
it's kind of like we just feel a nudging right now. Right. We don't, I think from the lesson that we learned that obedience is blessed with freedom and peace, that now we think, we picked this house in 4 days, mm-hmm. right? Now that we're here, we know that there's just as many beautiful houses at all price points in mm-hmm. Tulsa, and maybe we could live in a house that costs less and be completely mortgage free. I mean, we've been debt free except for a mortgage for all of our marriage, but now the concept of having no mortgage really frees us up and gets us kind of excited to think how God could use us when you don't have that pressure
right.
of that big bill mm-hmm. Every month. It's weird because it's not very normal. Like Mike said last week in the sermon, when you start living like this, it's not very normal because most people live the way we lived, just working as hard as you can to live as best you can and all of that. And we're taking it a step back, and what's odd is that it's really exciting.